Welcome to the Winton Woods Warrior Supercast. I'm Dana Gagnon of Waycross Community Media, and I have here in my studio Liz Stiles, pre-K principal. I have Jeremy Day, executive director of the business office. Thanks so much for being here. Because we have talked about, over the last couple of years, we've been able to talk about all these exciting new buildings. We talked about North Campus, where the big kids go to school, and they have all these great facilities and open spaces. And we talked about the South Campus, and the little kids have all of this really neat space and different places to learn. But there has been one group of students in the district that did not get a new space, and that is the really little kids, right? So now there is a North Campus and a South Campus and a Central Campus. And there's a brand new building. It is referred to as the ECCC, is what I'm hearing. Why don't you tell me what the ECCC stands for?
Sure. It is the Early Childhood Central Campus.
What ages go to school on this campus?
We have preschoolers and kindergartners, so 3 up until 5, turning 6.
Okay, so the littles.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have their own space, which means now when they have their older siblings and they're getting dropped off at school at the shiny new space, they know they also have a shiny new space. I love that. So let's talk about, Jeremy, tell me what changes and additions. This wasn't a new from scratch buildings like the others.
No, this building actually was built in 1968. It's been a number of buildings in the past. It was an elementary school, it was a middle school originally, it was a freshman building for a year. It was the intermediate school. I was principal there at the time when it was. So it's been a number of things. So the outside of the building, by and large, stayed the same. It looks the same for the most part. We did add a lot of exterior features like new doors, new windows. That's all brand new roofing. The inside is where you're going to see all the magic that really happened. And it's very, very much transformed from what it used to be. And it very closely matches what North Campus and South Campus looks like as far as the open spaces, the more collaborative spaces for the kids.
So, and that's important to know, though. It doesn't look shockingly different from the outside. If you live in the neighborhood and if you're not sure where this school is that we're talking about, tell us where it is.
It's right at 825 Waycross, so it's right there at the intersection of Waycross and Northland and Ken Road.
And we last knew this as the intermediate school?
It's the intermediate school up until about 4 years ago.
Okay,
Yes.
So that's the one, if we're thinking of where the intermediate school is. There's still a school there. It's now the littles, and it's inside. I like the, windows and doors may not make the structure look different, but that's actually going to help your operating expenses and safety and all that kind of stuff.
It's more along the lines of the efficiency and the safety for sure, absolutely. Other things that happened, brand new fire system, so state-of-the-art fire system, which is key for a building like that. You've got all the new sensors and bells and whistles that brings along. Then you also have all the interior features of the new flooring, the new windows, the new paint. It really looks like a brand new building on the inside. The outside, it's a very solid building. It always has been. You're always going to have those constant maintenance of roofs and things like that, which we always have to do. But it is a brand new roof there, which is nice. Okay. But the inside is really where they really spend a lot of time for the kids, and you can really tell when you take a tour.
So by taking advantage of a building that you had that was solid, you got to give one more new space. It's new. The space is new, but you didn't have to start from scratch like you did with the other schools.
Yeah, I think it was back in 2010 or so where they did an audit of our buildings at the time. It was rated the highest rated at the time to be able to save. So when you go through your master planning, that was a part of it. And so when you use state money for any of these projects, which we partially did here, they will audit your buildings to see what the best course would be. Okay. In some cases, it's a tear down and a total redo, which they did at North Campus and South Campus. And then other cases, like with the ECCC, that's what we're doing here. We renovated so that we could, because the building down at June Field was it was living its life.
Okay. Well, Liz, tell me how these changes that we've talked about, how this is better serving the needs of your teachers and your students now.
Well, the building is designed specifically for kids our age, so the 3s, 4s, and 5s, which means we're close together. It gives a very family feel. The preschool classrooms have a shared bathroom attached to the classroom, so it saves a lot of instructional time and staffing to have a bathroom so close by. We've got those extended learning areas just like South Campus and North Campus does, so pulling small groups and working on individualized instruction is much easier because there's a space now designed for that isn't in the classroom, which is hustling and bustling because they're playing and learning.
I had the chance to visit a few years ago some of the early childhood spaces that you had before any of the new schools were done, and there was such a demand for that age group of being able to be part of these programs, which was exciting. But I remember that you had classes in the library, which meant it affected library use. You had classes, you had students doing things in the hallway at times. It was incredibly creative, so points for that. But I can't imagine trying to track that many small people. You can't just send them on their own down to the hall to the restroom and things like that. So that's tremendous to be able to design a space. Was it exciting to get to design a space that matched what you needed?
It was. We got to involve a lot of the stakeholders to give their feedback and things like that. And then overall, the building, the square footage is larger than what we're used to, kind of like you were alluding to. So we have larger space to hopefully, fingers crossed, expand preschool to serve more of our families. Like you said, we have a huge demand for that early childhood, like preschool. And then the main game of early childhood is early intervention. So we have a lot more space for our therapists and interventionists to do that individualized work with those students.
And we talk about schools and we think about classrooms and we think about, sitting in rows and learning. And that's not all that, first of all, that's not what it looks like necessarily anymore, at least not in its effective use and not the way that Winton Woods really focuses on projects and things like that with the kids. But also, that's not even all the services. There's, like you said, there are therapists and there are all kinds of other things that they access through school that you need to make space for. So you mentioned it a little bit, sort of in brief, funding. And getting some funding from the state, and how they evaluate the building to see what they're willing to be part of. Talk a little bit about where the funding came from for this project.
Other pieces were, we definitely use general fund money that you would typically use for things like this. We also use ESSER money that came from the federal government during the COVID time frame. All that's about ending now. So we definitely use that money because it was a one-time renovation purchase to where we didn't have to worry about having to constantly use that money. We didn't have to rely on having to go back to that because it wasn't going to always be there. So that was a use for that money for sure. One of the biggest pieces we did, though, that we found out through the process, part of it was shipping delays and the whole supply chain issue that we had.
Yeah.
But it was also funding, is we don't want to, we held back on the central office portion of this building. Eventually, we want to put that at the bottom of the same school building. And we kind of put a halt to that for now. It doesn't have anything really to do with the kids, so we opted to go that route, and we don't want to spend any taxpayer money on that portion because that's not directly affecting the kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in a holding pattern for that right now until we can kind of raise the money to be able to do that section.
Yeah, and I like some of those building blocks because one of them is that you had some money from the government. It's a one-time thing. You're not going to get it regularly. Yeah. So sure, there's a list of things that are wishes and wants and needs for that matter, but most of them are a regular yearly expense, and this is not coming back. You're not getting this again. So to be able to put this towards something that, hey, this is a one-time thing, but we're going to reap the benefits of this building for a really long time, and let's pay for it once and keep going.
Yeah, the average span is about 50 years to use a building, 50 or so plus years. So we felt like that was a positive use of the money if it's going to be a one-time every 50 years type occurrence. So.
And the central office, if anyone hasn't stopped by the central office, it's in a temporary, it's in a temporary trailer. It's in a really permanent temporary trailer. Yeah. And it's at that same site, but it's behind the school.
Yes.
And that was an interesting decision, but kind of a neat decision that, yes, we do need probably a permanent building at some point. This is called a temporary trailer, but the fact that spending money on that, the kids don't directly get to see it and touch it and sit on it and use it in school. So saying, okay, well, we'll have more funds freed up for the kids if we just knock that down the list. So.
Yeah, I mean, important things happen in that building for sure.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to do with the kids in that building. So it really shouldn't go to that as far as taxpayer money goes in our eyes. So we did put a halt to that for now. And we'll go back to it. It does finish up our master plan, which we do want to do, but we don't use the money appropriately to be able to do that.
Okay, well, Liz, let me ask you this. We talked about these new facilities. This is a building that used to be for bigger kids.
Right.
So how is this designed specifically now for early childhood?
So we talked about the bathrooms. That's one of the
Yes.
quickest.
That's a really big deal.
It is a very big deal. Sinks that are nearby as well. They took out the pre-existing lockers, so now there are smaller, lower cubbies for all of the students that they can get to. The bathrooms and those things themselves. The classrooms are open. We're working on the furniture that promotes group work, partner work, interacting with each other, going and working in a group with the teacher, but also going and exploring the things around me. There's a couple courtyards that we can use now, which gets outdoor learning and play. The playground was updated. It is now fenced in, which is and it's, we've got the big play areas. We have an adapted swing now for our friends that need it. I think what else?
I know some of the concerns initially for the staff was storage. The property at Junefield had more teacher storage within the classroom space. They all had closets in the rooms. It's just the way it was built. This building does not have that and did not have that. As part of the retrofit with the lockers, though, they did make them smaller, but the whole top section that was lockers, it's all teacher storage. So everywhere, any cabinet you see in the hallways is teacher storage. It ends up being a good amount, albeit in a different location that the teachers are used to, but it's nearby. So that we tried to do that for the teachers as well, just because we knew the storage space in the room wasn't as large as what they were used to.
There's a neat creative use for, we already know that we have this much space up high. Our kids are theoretically not that tall. And so what else can we use the space and how can we make this useful for the teachers? And I mean, I think a lot of us have had the experience of going to school in a school that used to be for a different age and then got repurposed and seeing things at the wrong heights and being able to design this all specifically for the students who are in the building is kind of a big deal.
Yes. And we sorry, I just remembered.
Yeah.
So we can add it in maybe before if you want, but we now have a separated cafeteria and gym space. They used to be the same in our old building, so it made it a lot harder to get that gross motor movement throughout the day during the day. So now those are separated. And the kitchen, as it got renovated, the child nutrition department worked really hard, and they have a learning kitchen in there. So our students could actually go in and do some cooking classes and some stuff with hands-on with the nutrition and food.
Oh, I have never heard of a public school district having that at the early childhood level. That is such a neat resource.
We're excited. So.
Yeah, Mr. Doctor, he's our food services director. He does a great job with connecting with the community and with the kids and teachers that way. I know he often does presentations at the school level, high school and down at South Campus for different food presentations. He likes doing that sort of stuff. He likes to connect with the kids. So it was no surprise to me that he did this with the little guys.
That's such a lifelong skill. And to start habits of being able to prepare things. Am I too old to take these classes? I might be too old for those.
We can always take
great
volunteers.
Responsibility. Oh, okay. All right. Volunteers. We've got this we've heard this. Now that you've been open a little while, you've had your ribbon cutting, you've been open. So you're starting to see the students and the teachers and the parents are all getting to be in the space. So what are some of the feedback comments you're getting?
Pretty much all positive. It's beautiful, it's bright. You walk in, there's a lot of natural lighting, and then the paint on the wall is just bright. There's splashes of color throughout. It just is all very warm and inviting. It's got the safety kind of designed into it, so there's a vestibule when you first walk in, so that way all visitors, no matter what, have to sign in and stop at the office. So I know that has a bit of comfort to it. And then it just smells so good.
You know, when you're bringing your kid to school every day and leaving them, especially littles, they're 3 and 4 and 5 years old. You really want to make sure you're bringing them into a space that you know they're comfortable and feel safe, and that you feel safe leaving them in. And I saw in the plans sections to help them kind of feel like they know what part of the building is home, like a bunny section and a frog section. What are the sections?
Yes, those are our hubs. So
Okay.
those extended learning areas that we talked about that are open and can be usable for everybody, but they're spread throughout the building, so different teams of classrooms can generally access those. And then the preschool part of the building has the green splash of color with their 3 animals, and then nope, I did it backwards. They're blue. The
Okay.
preschool section of the building is blue with
Okay.
their 3 animals, and the kindergarten section of the building is green with their animals. And then we'll use it a lot. Oh, go down to the butterfly hub, and that'll tell you what part of the building you're in.
I mean, it sounds like talking about paint and things like that seems like we're talking about really minor things, but these are directional cues for them to know which is the home space and which is the hall they're supposed to be in. And anytime you're in kind of a new building or a bigger building, as a grown-up, I need to be oriented. So if I were only that big, then I would even need more clues on how do I know I'm in the right space.
Yeah, they did the same. The architects at SHP that we contracted to design North, South, and Central Campus. They do a nice job with the coloring, and I never would have thought about it being a big deal. But they really put a lot of emphasis on the coloring, and it was like a wayfinding type situation for little kids. That's really what it was. And you'll see that at South Campus as well. And as an adult, you wouldn't even necessarily know it when you're in there. But once you actually realize it or somebody explains it to you, it really makes a lot of sense for the little guys. It really does. Some other features that were really nice about the new building, the bus drivers seem to really love it because they can actually get into the parking lot. And it's not as big of a deal. The building in Green Hill is just so landlocked as far as getting in. So I know it was only, I think, the first day of school that there were cars out on Waycross. After that, I mean, we've got enough room in the parking lot now to accommodate all the car riders, all the buses, all the daycare vans. It's a nice site for what we're using it for now.
If parents are watching this and thinking, okay, I had no idea I wanted my kid to be part of this so much. Are you looking to have enrollment information on the website, or where can they find out about this?
Enrollment, yes. If you go to the wintonwoods.org website and click on the Enroll department, so kindergarten is open for all families that are living in the Winton Woods district. The preschool information is on there as well. Quickly now, we open up the application for preschool because unfortunately we don't have enough spaces for all of our families that would like preschool for their child, hopefully yet. But we open the application in January, and then we start enrolling in March, which is also early enrollment for kindergarten for next year. So March 1st is when early enrollment starts for kindergarten.
I want to thank you both for coming in. Is there anything else you want to make sure folks know about this new space?
I mean, thanks for having us. I mean, I appreciate the community support, as always, with all these projects. I mean, it doesn't happen without them. It doesn't happen without the parents. It doesn't happen without the community. So I always thank community for all that completely. You can't thank them enough, really.
I have seen for years of recording Winton Woods projects how much the whole community, whether they have kids or not, are very interested in everything that the students are doing and everything that the district is doing. We love our football team. They're awesome. Look how far they went. But it's not just that. I see them watch all the different levels and aspects. And I appreciate your willingness to come in so that we can share this. I can't wait to share this space and be able to share this program. And I want to thank you for watching, because that means you want to be informed about what's going on in the Winton Woods School District. Make sure you are watching that website that we mentioned, wintonwoods.org. It's where you can find about everything that's going on in the district, not just what we talked about today. And you can also follow their Facebook page, the official page for the Winton Woods City Schools. And thanks for joining us. Whoa, yeah.